Hola guys and girls, and yeah, quite some time since I speak in English with you, but I joined a new league and it is an English speaking one. That's why the Borussia Donphan are back, and I joined the second season of the Champions of Galar, since I did manage to snag a title in the German GPL league, yeah, together with my friend For Life Games or Bene. And yeah, that's why I'm here, and yeah, I got to draft. I guess a lot of you probably followed the draft stream, which ended like just before I upload this video. But yeah, for some people who want a bit more insight on why I drafted which mon, yeah, this is the video for you. Or even my opponents who want to get a bit more insight how I plan to use these mons. Don't study too carefully, I might lie here. So yeah, just for that, maybe, who knows. But there, yeah, we got the draft. I was number 4. There we go. Yeah, I'm sorry if my English is a bit rusty. It's quite a time since I spoke English in a video before. But yeah, I was 4th overall position, which mean I was less likely to be sniped than others. Very unlikely to be sniped, to be fair, even. And I had an idea of what I wanted to turn around one, and I got through to me, and that pick was none other than your boy Zygarde. This is my second time using Zygarde in a league, and yeah, big fan of that guy. 1000 arrows is just the most spammable move in the game. No immunities, flying types, we don't care about that. They only resist are potentially grass types, but since they can't run hidden power ice anymore, they're more often than not setup fodder for my boy Zygarde here, since he is so bulky, and since he only needs one move to hit everything. The other slots are usually always preserved for setup, glare, substitute, toxic, and maybe here and there coverage moves like, I don't know, extreme speed, crunch, scale shot, stuff like that. But yeah, 1000 arrows is gonna be the way, and yeah, I plan to spam that. And yeah, very happy I got Zygarde right here. My secondary condition would have been Melmetal, because truthfully I looked at the tier list, as I do for every draft of course, and check what mons do I think are undervalued, like which is a steal in my opinion. So I can draft that either at the beginning or later on, and yeah, have the most value out of my draft, at least the one in my opinion, because no tier list is going to be perfect for everyone, and there's always going to be some weakness or something you can, what's the word, you can use. Some weakness you can use in your opinion, and that was my second pick, which I didn't want to take first, because if I would have gone that first, Zygarde would have been most likely gone, or even Melmetal. So yeah, I wanted to pair one of these two mons together with my next pick, which is Tapu Bulu, and that was my steal in my opinion for only 10 points. So in other leagues it would be like in tier 3, if to be comparable. And yeah, I want to pick either Zygarde or Melmetal with my boy Bulu, since they don't lack reliable recovery. Extra grassy terrain recovery is nice, of course. Zygarde's stab ground move is not affected by grassy terrain, so that's where that synergy comes from. And of course, Melmetal, people can't use Earthquake with that as good. And yeah, both of these one like to run leftovers to setup and substitute. And yeah, just having additional grassy terrain coverage onto that, of course, gives them a lot of staying power in the game. And yeah, that's why I want to Bulu with them. And yeah, in general, Bulu is a great mon in my opinion, especially for only 10 points. Great bulky grass type in both sides potentially. Of course, it has the nasty 4 times poison weakness, which can be annoying, since even though hidden powers are gone, poison coverage is something that a lot of mons get, be it poison jab or something similar. So it can be easily used, but yeah, there we go. Zygarde resisting poison, of course, and stuff like that. And yeah, it is our fairy as well, so we are building our fairy dragon steel core as well. And yeah, Bulu is just a strong mon with strong grass stab. Sadly, no real strong fairy stab, barring Dazzling Gleam, but I think we can manage. Has some utility moves as well, be it Nature's Madness, be it Taunt to stall break a little bit. But yeah, Bulu always be there to just hit the bulky waters hard with stab, grass moves for my high attack set with grassy terrain recovery. And yeah, not much more to talk about. That's what I wanted. And then going into draft, I knew I wanted Bulu, and there are some other mons I wanted to try out, which later on the draft. But for now, I want to finish my core, and I already knew that I need a steel type for that. So I looked at the draft, which steel types are left, because most of the great steel types are already gone, like Jirachi, Scizior, Celesteela, stuff like that. They're of course gone in the first 2 rounds. But one I like a lot is Skarmory, which I got for myself. Yeah, Skarmory, great steel type, hazard removal, reliable recovery, which don't many steel types have. Most of them are reliant on leftovers or something similar. The ground it's not grounded, so it doesn't get recovery for grassy terrain, but still it's so physically bulky that just through having Skarmory, a lot of threats which other teams struggle with are like a non-threat to me. Like the best example of that is, for example, Mamoswine. Skarmory is a great Mamoswine check, which most of the teams get destroyed by the coverage of Mamoswine. You have a Skarmory, just switch it in and you're fine. Same with monster, for example, Excadrill are mons which can destroy teams very easily. Skarmory deals with that on its own, especially since it got the body press this gen, I think. Yeah, I think body press is something this gen. This gen is so long already. Or last gen, since we are still playing Sword and Shield. Whatever. Yeah, it got body press, which is super high defense that, of course, leads to some good damage. And, of course, like I already mentioned, Spike, Staff Rock, all these utility moves. Skarmory is not a new one for me. Zygarde is my second time using it, Budo as well, so they're rather new for me. But Skarmory is an old buddy of mine. I know how to use the Metal Bird to hazard stack, hazard remove, and just be an overall nuisance to the opponent. But yeah, that's Skarmory. Now we have our Fairy Dragon Steel Core, and I'm very happy with that. And what I needed next is a Bulky Water, since I had a Bulky Water in mind, but that got sniped. And then I got a little bit panicky and was like, okay, damn, if my first choice Bulky Water is gone, I'd rather go for my second or third or whatever best Bulky Water type is left, in my opinion, before those go as well. Because for your Bulky Water, it's a very necessary part of the draft, in my opinion, and you don't want to settle for like something very low tier just because everything else is gone. And that's the side. At this point, I'm going for Vaporeon, the archetypical bulky water type, pure water type, very bulky. Yeah, what else can you say? You spam Wish, you spam Heal Bell, you spam Toxic, you spam Scald, you spam Flip Turn, Baton Pass, stuff like that. You get slow momentum, you get Wishes, which are pretty big. Water immunity, which is pretty nice, so other bulky waters are having to run Toxic to really deal with me, because otherwise they can't really do much to me. And yeah, not much really, like it's a bulky water type, like what more can I say? There's great resistances to water and ice, which are otherwise a problem. Like look at my team, for example, 2 ice weaknesses, no resist so far. And yeah, Vaporeon is one of them. My first choice would have been Suicune, that was the snipe for me. And spoiler, it was the real only snipe. There are other mons which I wanted, but then gone. But Suicune was the one I wanted this round, someone else took it this round. And yeah, that's what I call a true snipe. So yeah, Suicune would have been great, because it's the only thing Suicune lacks is reliable recovery. It has to run rest more often than not. And yeah, with grassy terrain, you can kind of circumvent that. That's why I want to get Suicune. But yeah, Vaporeon, of course, Wish Pass are always nice to get some high HP sets to my mons. So, next up, I got another mon which I thought was very low priced. I never used it before, but I thought, okay, this mon can do a lot for what it's worth, and that's, in this case, Slowbro Galar. Just a blanket fairy switch in, because, yeah, not really real fairies can hit that well, especially if I have the Assault Vest, and of course my stab poise moves are pretty strong with that, and it has a generator. It is lacking the teleport, that's why I get why it's less value than Galarian Slowking or something like that. But even that, with great regenerator mon, great bulk on both sides, can even go offensive. It got the luck part, of course, if I want to go with the, I don't know what the ability is called, but the ability which makes me go first, potentially. Yeah, you can go with that if you want to go for like some luck meme points, but regenerator is what I'm going to run most of the time. And yeah, Trick Room set as well, which my team currently does not really need, to be fair. My team is not very fast, but definitely too fast for a Trick Room team. But yeah, that utility we have, and yes, like of course with our recovery, we already talked about the generator, Shell Side, Arm great move as well, so we can hit on both sides, special or physical, depending on what does more damage. And yeah, all the courage a slow bro needs. And yeah, at 9 points, which is basically low tier 3, this is a great mon. Like, I think Galarian Slowking was like 16 points, something like that, 15, somewhere very high up there, where I thought, okay, that's never worth that many points, but Galarian Slowking 9, that's for sure what I'm going to take. And yeah, he's here, he's strong, he will not die, he has a generator, he will be healing himself. Of course, he has the synergy as well with the grassy terrain, but I mean, to be fair, all poison types have that, so it's not really special to Galarian Slowbro, but yeah. Great mon overall, I like it a lot, and yeah, that's Galarian Slowbro for you. And next up is another mon which is a big surprise. It was the mon which I was sure I was getting at some point, but I had to look out what the other Tapu picks are doing, because Tapu Lele, Tapu Koko, and Tapu Fini all got drafted. And yeah, it's a mon which has synergy with them, so which means it has synergy with terrain, and that means we are drafting Halucha. Never mind, we're drafting Rotom Heat here. Never mind. Halucha's next. God damn it. Okay, I got my ordering wrong. And yeah, I need my. It seems I decided to finish my course first, which is the Fire Water Grass course. And I need a fire type, and Rotom is one of them, so I drafted that. Yeah. That's the reason. But yeah, other reason is, of course, I needed a fire type, well, wanted a fire type which has hazard removal as well, since I was looking at the mons I wanted to draft. Like, I had my eye on 2, which I will get later. I already mentioned I had my eye on Hawlucha, which does get defog, but doesn't really want to run defog. No, that's why we have Skarmory so far as only hazard remover. And it's only hazard set as well, which we will have to tackle at some point. But yeah, I want one of the fire types which can hazard remove it, which means we could be gone for Moltres, which was gone. We could go for Talonflame, which could have gone for, but then I saw Rotom Heat, which was a bit more expensive, and I saw, at this point I noticed like how many points I have left actually. Like, I know I was budgeting with like Bulu and Slowbro Galar and stuff like that, which I liked in the draft. But in this, like, they changed the draft format a little bit, that we have more points with 120. And at this point I definitely noticed that, like, okay, I don't have to go for Talonflame. I can just spend all my points. I can go for the high tier stuff. It doesn't really matter. I will have enough points left in the end to get everything I wanted, which yeah, makes drafting a lot easier. I personally am not a fan of that. I like then if like smart drafting decisions matter more. Because in this case, you can basically only you can drop everything from the top you want and then go down the list, because even if you get sniped, with the points you have left, you will always have a replacement available to you. Usually you have to be a bit smarter with your point spending, so you don't, if you get sniped, you're potentially stuck with like a choice which you can't afford anymore, stuff like that. But yeah, with enough points, that doesn't matter anymore, so everyone has a good team. And yeah, like it's easier for everyone to get a good team, I get that. But I like if it's difficult. I like when I can shine with my drafting skills. But here, the good drafting doesn't really matter too much. At least the budgeting part of that. Of course, you still need your synergies and stuff like that. But yeah, the budgeting was always something I enjoyed myself. Sadly, in this league not. But yeah, enough of that ramble. We got Rotom Heat, Hazard Remover, Electric type as well. Electric and Fire, great coverage, because most of the time the electric checks, of course, are ground types and grass types potentially as well, because they resist the electric, and yeah, Overheat hits that super effectively, and of course ground strong as well. Then we got the Pain Split, we got the Will-O-Wisps, we got the Screens potentially, and yeah, just a Rotom as per usual. Of course, Heavy Duty Boots helped this mon a lot, giving the momentum without taking too much desert damage, and like I mentioned, it's a hazard remover, that's why I wanted it, and yeah, pretty straightforward, very offensive, very bulky. It's a Rotom Heat. You already saw what Rotom Heat does. And yeah, there we go. Hawlucha. There it is. Just missed it one round. Already talked about that. Great synergy, of course, with the terrain. Just put a grass seed on that and we got the Unburden activated pretty fast. And then we get to go for Salt Stance and or something similar. We have with fighting and flying coverage, great coverage to hit the opponent super effectively or neutral. And of course with setup super strong. And yeah, with the 118 speed, I think it has, base speed. If he's unburdened, he's going to be fast in everything. The only thing I can do is hit it with priority. But depending on what kind of priority, the Grassy Seed boost I get in defense might not be enough to kill it. And we just sweep through the team. And yeah, like I mentioned before, my team was not that fast as for now. Like, the fastest one I have at the moment is Zygarde at 95, so yeah, pretty slow for a draft. You want a few months over 100, and yeah, Hawlucha is definitely up there, and especially with Unburden, it's like super up there. So now I have like a big speed gap to fill, but that's something we can do later. For now, I have one speedy mon, the rest are more like bulky, slowish, I want to say. But yeah, that's Hawlucha, like I said. We already know what Hawlucha in terrain does, and this time it doesn't do with Koko, it doesn't do with Late, it doesn't do with Fiddy, it doesn't do with the Bulu. And yeah, next up I got a core I want to have, because there's one mon I wanted to have for sure, and I go with that for second, but that mon needs to shine really for points. Like, it was very cheap and can shine out without the support, but the support I'm talking about is Trick Room. I had a mon in my eye which I thought was a very cool mon to use. I never used it. And in my eye, I think that's very bad English, but who cares? I'm not here to speak English, I'm here to speak about mons, and I'm here to play mons. But yeah, and that's why I need more Trick Room setters. So far I've only Galar and Slowbro, but yeah, the most Trick Room setters are Psychic type, and I don't want to stock up on too many same types, so I had to look at Trick Room setter from other types. Porygon 2 sadly was already gone, that's not something I wanted to pick for that, but another mon which is a great Trick Room setter and Trick Room abuser itself as well, which is not a Psychic type, is of course your boy Stakataka. Stakataka, very cheap at 8 points in my opinion as well. If that can get a Trick Room with, especially since it got Body Press as well, it has like all the coverage it needs before with only Gyro Ball and Stone Edge and stuff like that. The Steel types were a problem to hit because they resist both, but with Body Press we have a good move to hit that, are super strong, of course can with Beast Boost. That's not fun to say, Beast Boost, and yeah, sets Trick Room, sets Rocks. Like I said, we are struggling with Rock Set a little bit as well. Now not so much anymore, And yeah, just great overall. Even without Trick Room, he can be bulky and strong, but in Trick Room he truly shines. And yeah, with Galarian Slowpoke potentially as Trick Room setter and Stakataka as Trick Room setter, we have a little bit of a Trick Room core going on already. Like I said, our mons are not too fast, especially Budo, so for example. So if we run them with like min speed, minus speed, we can even do Trick Room stuff with him if you want to. But yeah, the main mon I thought I wanted to support for was Glastria, because I saw Glastria at only 6 points and I thought I want that. I love my low tier ice types. I do that in every league, be it I draft Frostlass, Regice, Articuno, Cryogonal, what's called the Ice Evolution, Glaceon. All these mons are ice type and usually in the lower tiers, Avalok as well. And you usually get your ice type in lower leagues, at least for me. Like I don't really go for like the Weaviles or something like that. My ice types are usually lower tier, but I never got to use Glastria. It has insane stats, has good coverage. It's just slow. That's like the big problem. And ice type is like, it has good defensive stats, but ice is like a terrible defensive typing, so it can't really make use of that too much. But in Grassy Terrain. And Grassy Terrain helps of course as well because it gets recovery, but in Trick Room this excels, I think, because yeah, it can make use of it being slow, make use of it being strong, getting shielding Nay boosts, getting these attack higher and higher, and yeah, basically with ice coverage, close combat, and then I don't know, high horsepower, Stone Edge, heavy slam. Good moves overall, and yeah, great bulk. Of course, with the ice typing, like I said, a bit struggle there, but yeah, I wanted to use Glastria. I thought that was a fun mon to use, and I wanted some Trick Room support for that. That's why I did go with the Stakataka. So now I got basically everything I had my eye on before the draft, be it Zygarde, Bulu, Glastria, and Slowpoke Galar. These were like the mons which I thought, okay, I want to use those, and the rest are basically just synergy mons which fit there. I didn't necessarily need the Rotom, I wanted one fire type. I didn't necessarily need Skarmory, I wanted a good steel type. Skarmory does that, and stuff with Hawlucha and Vaporeon. I didn't necessarily want those from the start. It's just like, okay, they fit the team, they're available, they have good synergy, what I have drafted so far, let's go for them. And yeah, now I just have to see, okay, what's the problem with the team as of now? What's missing? So for one, I wanted a little bit more hazard setting probably, because Stakataka and Skarmory, yes, but Stakataka doesn't necessarily want to run rocks all that often, especially if I want to use them as a Trick Room sweeper. And so I want to have more hazard setter. Then typing wise, what I'm missing still is a dark type, which is pretty important, so like stored power sets, so like bulky psychic types don't sweep me. Another Trick Room setter could be nice potentially if I want to go for that. And yeah, like I mentioned, the speed gap between Zygarde and Hawlucha still exists, so everyone which is like the 110 speed range can just run the plus modest or element nature without a struggle. So I'll need something there. And yeah, these are like the things I want to fill. Mainly dark type, speed, and a rocker. These are the things I want. And I decided to go first for the speed, and I decided to go with Tornadus. Great overall flying type, used Tornadus a lot already. Love the Acrobatics Bulka Breast set with Chesterberry, stuff like that. Has Prankster, Tailwind. So I have the option to go slow with Trick Room, I have the option to go fast with Tailwind, or even my Hawlucha. And it has with the 111 speed stat. Helps a lot with the speed gap between Hawlucha and Zygarde. Sadly not with the 110 speed ones. There were some 105 mons left, but I looked at like the budgeting I want and they don't really fit. Like I like Tornadus more, that's basically the main reason. Like there were, I think, Zorak I could have drafted here with 105 and being a dark type, but it didn't help me with the Stealth Rock issue and stuff like that. And I like Tornadus. Personally, I just like Tornadus more than Zorak. I just think it's a bigger threat usually, and I'm not that great in using the illusion probably. Here it could be fun, I guess, to use illusion with mons like Stakataka or stuff like that, or Zygarde, which need very specific prep from the opponent. And using that to have a lure Zorak set could be fun. But look at Tornadus. Look at his mustache. Look at his mustache and say you don't want to draft that. Come on. Screw the black fox thingy. We want bulky men in with mustaches on clouds, and that's why I drafted Tornadus. And yeah, lots more to say. Can go physical, can go special, U-turn, hurricane, heat wave, superpower, sludge wave, coverage moves here and there, taunt. We already talked about Tailwind. And yeah, that's Tornadus for you. Now let's go to my last two picks. And next up we're gonna go with Bishop, which fits my Dark and Stealth Rock strategy. And yeah, just gives me another mon with some priority, which can be nice because so far I only have Extreme Speed Zygarde. And yeah, gives me my third steel type actually. But I notice I don't have that big of a steel type problem. Like common weaknesses are ground, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4 ground immunities, 1 ground resist, and of course aggressive terrain going. And fighting weakness is only shared between Stakataka and Bishop, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighting resist, 4 fighting resist and 1 additional weakness, so I think I'm fine there as well. They're both 4 times weak to fighting, yes, so if I bring both of them, my opponent has a strong fighting type. I made a mistake in team building. That's pretty much it. Like, I'm never gonna bring both of those if my opponent has a good fighting type to make use of that. But yeah, that's that. But yeah, he's the only dark type left which had hazards as well. And that's why I go for Bishop, and at 9 points I think he's rather cheap. Usually I'm not a fan of Bishop. Bishop is one of those ones where I like rather not pick that, because I think other dark types, other steel types are way better. But yeah, at this point in the draft, of course, we are, like I said, we are in round 11 I think here. You have to make some compromises, and my compromise Bishop, and I think for a compromise that's a pretty big one. And yeah, then I have only 1 point left here, and yeah, I looked at the 1 point mons which are left, and I decided to go for Duosion, because Duosion gives me Trick Room. He has the same special attack set as Ryunix, actually 125, so he is super strong. He is missing some of that bulk though. He can kind of help that with the Eviolite, but Ryunix is still way bulkier because of the huge HP stat. But yeah, still, it's a Trick Room setter. It can be very strong in Trick Room, and just helps with my Trick Room Threat Core, which you can see on the right there, all lined up with Duosion, Glacier, and the Glastria, and the Stagataka. Potentially Galar and Slowbro as well, and some other ones we can run slow. But yeah, that's the full team. Gives me now fighting resist as well, which, like I mentioned, fighting weakness with Stagataka and Bishop kinda is a thing. But with Duosion we can help that at least a little bit. At least it's a 1 point mon. 1 point mons, they kind of go to 1 match maybe. And if they do that and they do well there, then it's well worth the 1 point. So I think Duosion can do that. And yeah, that's my team in total. Zygarde, Bulu, Skarmory, Vaporeon, Galarian, Slowbro, Rotom Heat, Hawlucha, Stagataka, Glastria, Tornadus, Bishop, Duosion. And yeah, that's basically all my thoughts about that. Let me of course know in the comments what you think of the team. Can we perform that? Will we win? Or will we lose? Which mon will have the most deaths? That's a question I asked the coaches as well. I think some people said Skarm and Rotom Heat, since they're like bulky defensive mons, which I'm going to bring. And defensive mons tend to take hits and tend to die at some point. So good choices there. But yeah, maybe we have another one. Because most kills are most likely going to be to the defensive mons. That's pretty easy. But most deaths? That's a more tricky question. But yeah, that's all from me. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, of course, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I apologize if my English was not on point there, but I think it did rather good for like considering how long it was since I spoke English in a YouTube video. But yeah, that's all from me. I will see you another time. Ciao.